Varjo Arrow with the brain-reading interface, codenamed Gallia. And you might have already heard this name before, because it is an area of research that many companies are looking towards, including Valve, who seem to be working on a very similar project. But this headset is actually releasing later this year in August. And first of all, what makes it so unique is that the Gallia module is capable of reading your brainwaves. This means that when you're thinking or concentrating on a certain object in VR, the Gallia will be able to register this and send it back so that you can interact with this VR object by just using your thoughts alone. But they even took it to a whole other level, because besides reading your brain, it is also capable of eye tracking, monitoring your heart rate, and detecting muscle movements in your face, meaning it can even detect if your stress levels go up. This headset is so close to Sword Art Online that they even held a beta test for its users.
Double
Besides this
Nightfall.
brain reading module, there's also the headset itself, where the user can choose between the Varjo Arrow as well as their newer model known as the Varjo XR3. But these are no ordinary VR headsets, because they have a screen built into them that has the same resolution as your eye can perceive, making it almost sound like complete science fiction, especially knowing that its release date is right around the corner. But that gets us to the biggest problem, which is the price, because this headset comes in at a total of $25,000.
Emotional, damn it!
And honestly, there should be no human being paying this amount of money for a VR headset, especially knowing that their Varjo XR3 comes in even higher at a total of $34,000.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
But what blows my mind even more is that all batches until the end of this year have all been sold out. So even with the price tag being absolutely through the roof, there seems to still be a demand for these devices, because you have to keep in mind that this is the very first headset ever to pull off this cutting-edge technology. And we also know that other companies like Valve are working on creating a consumer version with these exact features. And although most of us will probably never get our hands on this VR headset, it does finally mark the start of the first big step taken towards the full life future. But that is not all, because we also got some big news regarding a Sword Art Online VR game. But before we get into that, a quick word from
Let's
the
see
company
what we've
that
got
made
for
this
each
video
other.
possible. If you are wearing glasses or lenses in your day-to-day life, you might have already experienced problems using your VR headset comfortably. Then you should definitely check out the lenses of the company named VR Wave, because with it, you can get your own eye prescription and directly insert them into your VR headset, so that you can see every detail possible inside your VR experience. And they have lenses for every single headset possible, from the Quest headsets to the new PlayStation VR 2. And you can use code RELATIVE for a 5% discount on all your purchases. Now if you're interested, I'll leave a link for you guys in the description below. And with that said, let's get right back into it. Besides the Nerve gear, we are also waiting for a Sword Art Online VR game. So let's talk about what we know so far. Last week, we had the first official release of what was known as Sword Art Online X1. This was a timed event for all hardcore SAO fans, and it was made to celebrate the anniversary after its 10-year release. But the cool thing was that it let the player roam to the towns of beginnings on the first floor, as well as looking at some exhibitions in the steel castle at the research facility. Or you could take up your swords and even fight the 75th floor boss. But this event soon came to a close, with it being the first official Sword Art Online experience supported by Sony. That is, of course, if you do not count the Sword Art Online VR Lovely Honey Days. But with all the previous titles, there were even players that took it upon themselves to create the full world of SAO in VR. This was also known as Project Eintracht, which we talked about in more detail in a video you can see in the top right corner. Honestly, I am very impressed with how far they got, but it still blows my mind that if such a small group of people can achieve something like this, then why do they still not release an official game? Because we are already seeing the first VR MMOs. Think about the big release of Zenith the Lost City, which gave people the first glimpse of what is possible in the future. And although it didn't satisfy all our needs, I truly believe that this is one of the biggest chances for them to create such a popular game. But there is actually one official Sword Art Online game that you can experience in VR right now, and you might have already heard about it before, because this one is called
Hello, Guardian.
Recollection, which originally was an iOS and Android.
Requisition approved.
In it, you create your own character and fight your way through all the 100 floors of Minecraft. And although this game has already existed,
A prepared soldier is a victorious
what many
soldier.
don't know is that not
He
so
will
long
never
ago,
master
they
it.
integrated a VR mode, letting you interact and look at the world around you. But one big sign to make. Besides the graphics,
Time to
not being
fight,
on the
Guardian.
same level as you expect
What do you
from a
need?
VR game, the interactions that are possible are also very different. Because while it's possible to walk around,
This was made for you.
it is not possible yet to interact with you.
It
But
has to.
does let you
I
feel
make sure of it.
SEO in this VR mode, with the best part being that this game is completely free. So even though it might not be the best VR experience, it won't cost you anything either. And with its big popularity, it also could mean that they might add these functions in the future. And if so, it would be the first official VR game that lets you explore all the 100 floors of Minecraft while fighting your way through all these floor bosses. But we have even more Sword Art Online news, so make sure you don't miss it by checking out the videos you see on screen. Stay awesome.
There is a terrifying possibility about finding life in other planets. Because even if we discover them, even if we come in peace, interstellar civilizations may be eradicating other life the moment they learn of it. Or as Lucian calls it, the dark forest problem. Imagine you are a hunter creeping through a forest trapped into a pit. Shadows hide all kinds of danger. Is that a tree?
The Shadow Legion are transferring another group of captives to their pyramid facility.
Each night,
long as they
you
keep
hunt for
taking
food,
hostages,
scrounging what you
we'll
can.
keep
You know
rescuing
there
them.
are other hunters
I'm
in
rather
the
afraid
forest,
they're
probably
counting on it.
hungry and searching
Stay
for
vigilant,
something.
Guardian.
Only you don't know where they are. You think about calling out into the dark, lighting a fire bright enough that others might come to you, sending out a radio signal. You could work together to help each other survive, but just as you open your mouth, you stop.
We've dealt with Cabal in the EDZ for years, but the Shadow
In fact,
Legion use
calling out would
different
just let them
tactics.
know where resources were, your little camp, what little you have. Would it reveal your location to them, without you knowing where they are? So you close your mouth and stay silent. Suddenly, you see a dark, muddy pool, foliage in the distance. Your heart leaps at the sight of another person, but they know you're there. They might kill you instantly. How do you figure out if they're preying, knowing that speaking to them could end in your death, them pulling a gun before you can even explain yourself? All you know is they have a little camp of their own, more food, more water, supplies for another day, so you stay hidden for a while. You know they're there. So, raise your rifle, press your eye to the sky. Dark Forest theory says every civilization is that armed hunter, and the universe is that dark forest. This idea has been explored by various authors and scientists like David Brennan is a great scientist, Sabahagen's Berserkers, but it was really launched into the public consciousness with, and it's one of the best sci-fi pieces I've perhaps ever read. Now, you probably know the first book, Three-Body Problem. Netflix series coming, it won the Hugo Award, but the Three-Body Problem feels like a YA novel once you get to it. This is the story that Liu Cixin wanted to tell, and if you don't do not watch this video, comment down below that you're going to go get it, and then go read it. Dark Forest theory is built on two axiomatic propositions. First, the survival of the fittest. Second, civilizational expansion. That everyone, all throughout the universe, continuously grows and expands, but the resources in the universe remain common. Because of this, if we find other life, be it an animal or a monster or another hunter or life we barely recognize, there are only three options. Reveal yourself and pray for you. Or raise your rifle. In this forest, hell is other people, firing on each other for fear that they'd do the exact same thing the moment they do. The whole dilemma is comically about whether people wake up and choose violence. Now, you might think the hunter could call out, reveal themselves, explain they mean no harm, we come in peace. And that might work on Earth, where we can throw our hands up or talk or can resolve our fears quickly to prevent annihilation. But Liu says revealing yourself to the universe is just too damn dangerous because of two big differences: the chains of suspicion and technological explosion. In this book, there is a horrific moment called the Battle. minute, a fleet of ships flee into space to escape a catastrophe aiming to set up life elsewhere in the stars before they realize their resources are limited, and their best chances of survival are a preemptive strike on the other ships. Because they don't know what all those other people are thinking. They don't know if they're paranoid or violent just like them, and they need resources to survive. Some people must die, or everyone will die. This is the unwinnable dead hand that space has dealt for the survival of Starship Earth. The string is about to snap, since it's all the same no matter who pulls it.
Both planes are insubstantial and
They turn on each
malleable.
other in the depths
But
of
to
space.
truly
So
understand
we can think
this
of it like
place,
this.
you would
If
need
we
a
know
more
an alien civilization
holistic
is
view
paranoid,
of the
then our
darkness.
best option becomes that first, like in the Battle of Mars. But let's say we think they might be nice. Oh. Well, what if they think that we would kill them on the Then they would strike first, and that means our only option again is to strike first. Or if they think that we're paranoid, or if they think that we think that they're paranoid, it all comes back to that preemptive strike. We're too suspicious of we could raise our hands and communicate our peaceful nature, but no, Yu says that space is different. We are the same species on Earth and more likely to understand each other. Civilizations are not isolated from each other. They can exchange and discuss many things that they do not understand. This opportunity does not exist between interstellar civilizations. Unlike in a real forest, communication over the vast distances of space is slow. I spoke about this in my video on the compatibility, that we may not be able to communicate with alien life because of how vastly different we work. We have no shared language, we have no shared experiences, and while dialogue and peace requires continuous effort to craft and maintain, all it takes
The Taken
is
are
one
vulnerable
crystal
without their
research
blight.
to
Target it first.
Once they are dealt
Especially
with,
because
the
I'm
light of
still-
your balefire will consecrate this area.
Of the three options, firing is simply all of this is the chain of suspicion that makes revealing yourself dangerous and firing that rifle. It might be difficult to imagine a universe so full of life that's so paranoid and fixated on the conquest of survival. But David Brennan in his paper offers that a dark forest wouldn't even require many civilizations to choose the preemptive strike. Suppose that for every 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 sane alien civilizations, there is one that is xenophobic and paranoid. Such a race might program its self-replicating emissaries.
One final
Zoom
group
in
of
on
Taken
any
between you and the
unrecognized
pyramid.
source of radio
I'd
signals.
usually
It
recommend
would need
wearing
only
them
happen
down
once
from
for the
range, but
results
you'll
of
need
this
to light
scenario
a
to
few
become
balefires to drive them out.
of the galaxy.
Prepare for close
We would
quarters
not have
contact,
detected
Guardian.
extraterrestrial radio traffic because all were killed shortly after discovering radio. If there is even a 1% chance that communicating with other intelligent life could lead to our immediate destruction, is that really worth the risk? The fact that human signals have now traveled over 200 light years and reached over 1,000 stars and countless planets means we don't know. What if we find a civilization that's in the Stone Age? They're not a threat. Well, Liu says, again, that that's not a reason to spare them because of that second reason. Human civilization has 5,000 years of history. Modern technology was developed over the scale of the universe. That's not enough. There's no reason why humanity should be the past. In my knowledge of your existence and the information set off. That means even though I'm just a newborn, I'm still existing. One day I'll be able to past space and interstellar distance. Develop technology to counter them entirely. With this chance of failure, every second you allow another civilization to continue and revealing yourself. And if you found them, then one day they will find you, and all of this only leaves you real. However, the Dark Forest offers a very compelling theory of how the universe works. Two axioms that it's based on can be a bit. Yes, survival of the fittest will play a role in evolution and perhaps in sociology. That does not mean that violence is only contrary, humans have succeeded evolutionarily because we are social creatures. Cooperative communities survived nature. If we are applying evolutionary motifs to the world, then it really makes sense that even if we are in a dark forest, it's the hunters who work together that survive. In fact, firing on a social group the universe itself might select for socialization. Dark forest theory supposes it only takes one malicious civilization to option, but that's a little like murdering everyone you see or staying hidden in your home because you know there's a serial killer somewhere out there who would try to jump you. While survival might be a fundamental part of civilization, that is not the same thing as expanding. Studies estimate around 10.9 billion. Not because we'll run out of space, but based on fertility rates and other demographic factors. As countries get healthier gets more sophisticated, consistently have fewer children. And we don't need to avoid that. That is not a existential threat. Expansion is not. And while the resources in the universe may be finite, if continual expansion is not guaranteed, is not inevitable. Battle of Darkness was a unique circumstance where decisions to survive or not. And the choice to destroy other civilizations is also built on two faulty assumptions that you nor Bryn never really addressed. One, that if you decide to wipe someone out, you have to know you can do it with 100%
but one incantation from Queen
Two,
Mara,
that you
and
can
you're in.
hide yourself.
Now you know how us
doing
mortals
this,
feel.
given revealing
You
yourself is
Guardians
so
have a
dangerous.
knack for making
Given
the
these are near
impossible
impossible to know,
usually.
you actually raise your chances of your own destruction exponentially by firing on other civilizations who may not have been inclined to use a preemptive strike in the first place. And while Liu argues that revealing yourself is so dangerous because we do not have a shared language or experience to resolve disputes,
This prison is filled
so
with a
dangerous,
miasma
then
of darkness,
revealing yourself
a
also
fetid
indicates
yearning
that
for the end of all things.
violence, restraint is a shared language we may well live in.
Use them to consecrate the taken
Of all this,
essences.
that though I love
Turn
this
their
book, this
energies
theory,
against
it's
them.
great sci-fi, it's a great place for a story. Is this an ad? Yeah. Am I getting paid for it? No, I wish I was. I just love this book and you will too. By the way, Death's End, the final book of the series, is even further up its own arse of weird sci-fi. If this video does well, by the way, I would love to do more of them. Let me know what kind of concepts you like this stuff, like really niche stuff. Do you believe in Dark Forest, or do you have another idea for why? Anyway, stay nerdy, go buy my books, Patreon, all that sort of stuff, yeah, blah, 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 money. Stay nerdy, and I will see you in the future.
attacked the last city, at least I understood it. The tower has strategic value, but this tactic of abducting civilians, I don't see the point of it.
Perhaps the witness aims to deplete our resolve.
Yes, it sees your empathy as a liability, and our rescue efforts as squandered resources.
But it is not so. Our heart strength is more powerful than any weapon.
Allows player to avoid enemy attacks using special evasive movements. What we can see specifically in the game mechanics is that this allows Dante to quickly dash around along with teleporting short distances in combat. Royal Guard is described as minimize the damage of an enemy attack. This move allows the player to maneuver into a more strategic position. What we see in the games is more like this. If well timed, he can absorb the damage that an enemy is sending at him, then Dante is able to release the stored up energy back at his enemy. So take this with a grain of salt, as this is the case for the in-game mechanics. Dante hasn't done it before during cutscenes where he gets defeated by enemies like Urizen or Irby. Also, the description that is guard says that it minimizes the damage of an enemy attack. It doesn't say negate, paralyze, or absorb it. Wanted to point that out. The equipment Dante has. There are a lot of weapons that Dante has accrued over time, but these are the most notable and most powerful. Ebony and Ivory, these pistols were created with Dante in mind, as he can fire pistols like a machine gun, and with insane accuracy and precision. Pandora. So, this one is a box. It is called Pandora. I won't say it's supposed to be Pandora's box, but I'm not saying that the hint can't be made. This weapon is noted in the description to have 666 different ways to use it. And you bet that Dante would be able to figure them all out with his experience. The ones that we do know of involve Pandora transforming into a machine gun, a rocket launcher, and a literal laser beam with the insane speed and reach. Rebellion. This sword was provided to Dante when he was a child, and has been with Dante through several games. The Rebellion is a sword that was provided to Dante by his father Sparta, as Virgil received the Yamato. For Dante, the sword is in an unawakened state, but when Virgil stabs Dante with his sword, it awakens, and we see that Dante uses his Devil Trigger form for the first time. This weapon is powerful and durable specifically because it clashes with Yamato, and has been used to defeat mighty demons. Devil Sword Sparta. This sword is the force that's transformed when the amulets of Dante and Virgil are brought together. When Arkham is able to get his hands on it, with the goal of retrieving the sword of Sparta himself. Eventually, Arkham loses it, and the sword goes to Dante. But Virgil is able to take his half of the amulet back, and the sword returns back to the person. In Devil May Cry 1, it allows Dante to summon the demon to attack the muscle and shown here, it is a summon that Dante uses. Just want to point that out. With this, it empowers the wielder as well. This is shown that Sanctus uses it to fight Nero, and has a very different look about him, along with being strong. In Devil May Cry 3, it shares that this sword has power inside of it. This sword is what comes to be when Dante wields the sword of Sparta and stabs himself with the Rebellion. Don't worry, there is logic with this. The Yamato was able to split demon from human, hence Virgil splitting into yours and B. The opposite happens here in that Dante is wielding the sword of Sparta, which is the sword of demon, which immediately allows Dante to send Devil Trigger form, which we'll get into next with the last one. This is the first weapon that Dante will choose and provides the and power of lightning. Something important about this is that Dante is combination of in-base or moving at lightning speed and
Dispel the energies of the Taken through the power of your balefire.
And with Nero having the Yamato in his arsenal, this being the aneurysm, he has memories I mentioned several finally around.
You're closing in on the objective, Guardian. The prison ship's dead ahead.
Once you're inside, we'll do our best to route you straight to the captives. But we don't have an exact layout.
I'm sure the Guardian won't mind kicking down a few doors. They might even prefer it.
That would believe in him enough to challenge his brain. Does give credit to how strong was. Sparta was in a weakened state. His abilities included possessing others like Ares, who had easily defeated at one point. Add to this, historically, only those that are the most powerful are able to reach. Meaning at this time, Artifact was the underworld. Munis was a powerful demon in the underworld, and then he came to Python, and made him powerful enough to become the king of the world. He was the big bad demon that Sparta sealed away, sent to one of the forces to Dante and his family when he was a kid. He ruled the underworld before Argisax and consumed the game. He wasn't challenged until Sparta decided to.
Your ghost can splice the local security system, but he will require your protection.
Some of the response forces might have intel to speed up the hack. Keep your eyes open.
Mine, Virgil, and Dante have always been relative to each other. Lucius created Trish, who is an incredibly powerful demon that eventually allies with Dante, and finally, Lucius created and controlled the demon named Nightmare. Then, when he realized Nightmare was so powerful, he had to make sure that Nightmare to be able to create game and Dante's losing.
struggle getting pissed off by others, like they're not bad. I just graduated high school in these states for a job opportunity. I was good friends with them. At first we got along well, but the more I got to know them, close to me how they can't get their own apartment. Bad friends so much better. I want to help, but here I use myself. It's a bad investment of time. Everyone else I meet seems to be a functioning alcoholic in this life. I try to have deep philosophical discussions with those I meet, but they're only interested, or they do this thing where they pretend to be nonsense. I ask someone why they believe last few months completely on my own, just working on my finances, but I'm so lonely that I've been really depressed because of it. Life feels pointless because it feels like there's no one who shares the same mindset I do. I know I'm not crazy smart. I often feel like an idiot and still struggle with a lot with being impulsive. That's why I do this. Led me to go to alcoholic pills on my own that I got out of months ago. I was throwing money away on unfulfilled desires that I didn't care about for the sake of saying that I have fun. My main goal is to get my DO and use my job to real estate investments. I want to surround myself, but I rarely do. Both of my parents are divorced and live alone with no friends. I come from a racist country and politician us with the outside of this. My mom basically get upset. They will tell me to stop hanging out with someone and I'll tell her about them. One of the few people I respect is my dad. He is incredibly smart and very successful, but he suffers the same thing as partially why I moved out. I love him and he is really one of the smartest people I know, but I only have bad memories of him getting upset at me growing up for not understanding things. I swore to myself I would never end up like him, but find myself following his footsteps. I mean no disrespect by the title, but I don't know how else to do it. I want to stay friends with people and help them, but I am just my own life. It's really hard for me to meet people who I feel are productive and good influences. But I also don't know if I'm being a cocky asshole who is out of touch. We see this all over. People like to find notes of these people who are very smart, put them out of context or maybe in context on places like the subreddit I'm very smart. And I want to have deeply philosophical discussions. Everyone around me is impulsive. No one is working towards their goals. They're very lonely. And how do we respond to this person? Generally speaking, no compassion. Right? So, on these places like the internet and in life, we say have compassion for all people, except people who think they're smarter than everyone else. That's the one thing that you can say that allows other people to treat you like crap. Right? If you've been traumatized by someone else, you deserve compassion. If your parents were narcissistic, you deserve compassion. But if you think you're better than me, screw you. Let's make fun of you. Let's laugh at you. Right? That's the one thing. It's kind of interesting. So I really respect this person because this is a hard thing to say. It's like hard to say. They're very they're self-reflective, they've done some good work, and I think it's amazing that already this person who is an I am very smart person, on the rest of the internet, would be treated like crap. But already in our community, they've become a little bit more self-reflective. They've started to realize about what's going on. And so being very smart or feeling like you're really smart is incredibly isolating, right? And we hear this a lot. It's hard for me to like meet people. Make fun of people like everyone else like quantum mechanics and philosophy and stoicism and whatever buzzword you want nowadays. Rick and Morty. So this experience, first of all, let's like start from the top, which is like what this person is essentially talking about is like isolation, an immense amount of isolation and loneliness. And we can also see that this person is making efforts, right? They're trying to meet people, they're trying to be nice. They're like worried though that if I hang out with someone who's like in credit card debt and cheats on their husband, on their partner, am I gonna wind up like hanging out with the wrong people because that's not the direction I want to go? And then it's a valid point. What's going on here? Like, how do you end up in this space? How do you end up in the place where you feel lonely and you also feel like you're smarter than everyone else and you tend to reject everyone around you for not being smart enough? You reject everyone around you because it's not moving you in the direction that you need to go. You want to surround yourself with people who challenge you and like want to push you to grow, right? So how did we get here? And how do we get out? So let's kind of take a look at this. Okay. So the first thing that I think everyone here noticed, so if you think you're smarter than everyone else.
Ghost stole the schematics for the prison ship during your hack. We're in luck. Our missing civilians are nearby.
Head to the hangar bay. Looks like that's where they're making their last stand.
And you're lonely. How do you overcome this? And this is a good point, right? So like the first thing that they kind of say is that you should be careful with who you hang out with. So not everyone that you encounter is necessarily working. That's kind of like logical. Not everyone around you is going to be like interested in the same things that you are, so you may not want to invest in relationships. Like that's pretty logical. But I think there's a lot going on for these people that I think that they don't realize. And essentially what happens is since they don't realize what's going on and they put on a particular air, they get judged very harshly.
You found our lost civilians, Guardian. Just one more squad to get through and you're home free.
Consecrate the essences of the Taken to maximize your chances. Good
luck.
luck.
I don't need to point this out to you. So this person judges other people for not being good enough. What were they conditioned to do? Right? So if we kind of like talk about their mom. So my mom is amazing and cared for me so much, so this person we respect her, right? But would constantly get upset and angry at me for spending time with her. So what does this mean? Your mom taught you to be judgmental. And so you were ingrained, right? Anytime this person tried that with a friend, what did the mom say? They're going to hold you back. Golden child. They're not the right people to hang out with. They're not the right influence. My golden child. They're not as good as you. This is conditioned. You can see it. Like this person even says, like, you know, I want to help. Right? He wants to help. He wants to engage with people. He or she wants to help. Right? So this person wants to help people. But like, what is it going to tell them? Like, their mind is just incredibly judgmental. So the first thing is that, you know, if you kind of think about what kids who grow up racist, like, why are they racist? The second thing here is that this person longs for connection. The main thing that here is when we start to feel lonely, it's that can manifest in all kinds of weird ways. The loneliness can almost be a protective mechanism. So remember that the things that hurt us in life that are hard to fix are often doing something to us. Otherwise we wouldn't. So our brain is really, really good at figuring out like what's a good deal and what's bad. And if you find yourself stuck in a situation where you feel like there's something else going on underneath the surface. The other thing to kind of point out is the other reason I kind of mentioned we'll talk about it as well. But what this person wants is I try to have deep philosophical discussions. That's what this person really wants. They want to do discussions. So they're not saying I want to read a book. They're not interested in knowledge. Right? What they're interested in is discussion. And they're not able to find people who can engage in this for whatever reason. So there are a couple of things that are like really important. Next is your judgment. When you're lonely, do your judgment. That's not the word. The first is that for people who have problems with self-esteem, wind up alone. They sometimes will employ the defense mechanism of I'm gonna reject you or you reject me. So I'm gonna ask all questions. What do you think what this person would do if they found someone who was able to aid? Let's say that there was someone who no one's saying this person would be thrilled to be like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. There could be a really interesting conversation. I think only this not everyone out there. But I'd be really, really careful about what you do and what you don't. It's very, very careful. If you're an amateur who likes to smurf, or try to contact, there's like a certain amount of attacking, right? So it's like, I ask why they believe religion is a belief system, but not the same concept of like physical time and space. Always someone's right? By the way, do you think religion is a belief system? Sure. What about science? No, like science is not. Right? This is Wendy's. Exactly. So like, how do you get into these conversations? Like, you usually don't just like open up there, right? So what I'm not actually getting is that this person has a deep desire to be challenged and be challenged. Like, it's interesting. But I think that what this discussion aspect comes to is the challenge of the people. That person does that make sense? Like, that's what, like, I want to throw something out and I want you to push back. It's basically like, it's like this person is going around in real life and like throwing down the 1v1 mid. Like, just showing up places and like, hey, let's 1v1 mid. People aren't quite ready for that, right? It's like, this is like real life 1v1 midding. Right? Yeah. But there's understand that respect. Because what this person really wants is to be respected in a relationship, to respect this is where it's you gotta be careful. What else? Diagnosis is 8 others that which fix if you find yourself rejecting a particular class of people, there's a decent chance that the reason you reject them, in the realm, in the vein of screw you specifically, is because of something you did yourself, right? So, let's kind of look at, it seems like everyone I meet is a functioning alcoholic and wastes their money. Peer pressure led me to going through an alcoholic phase of my own, and I was throwing money away. Does that sound like anyone we know? Right? And this is also like, I also say it in kind of a meme sense, but let's be clear. This is almost a survival mechanism, because if this has happened to you, what is the lesson that your brain is going to learn? Steer clear of functional alcoholics who waste their money, right? You got pulled into this once before, it's actually very logical. But at the same time, you got to be very careful, because if you're rejecting a class of people, which is exactly what you yourself suffered from, then like you've got to be kind of careful, right? Because a lot of that rejection is then, so people will talk about things like projection, or displacement, or reaction formation. So what do these things mean? So projection is when, you know, if I'm cheating on my spouse, I will be paranoid and I will like be like thinking like you're cheating on me. It's like actually coming from me, but I project it out onto other people. The other thing that could happen is displacement, where I'm truly angry with myself for falling for this crap. But I'm taking the anger that I have towards myself and I'm displacing it on others. Functional alcoholics, those dumbasses, they're such terrible. And then reaction formation is somewhat similar. So like the best example that I have of reaction is the homophobic homosexual. Some people grow up in a particular environment where they are taught to hate something. Or they're taught about homosexuality and how homosexuality is bad, and they themselves are homosexual. The only way they can like manage those feelings is to lash out against other homosexuals. Right? So we hate in others that which we cannot fix in ourselves. That could be going on here too. Okay. So the next thing is, if you're having trouble engaging in relationships, if you're lonely, so what we hear in this post is what this person is, right? Like this is where I want to meet people, but no one is interested, or they want to do things that they pretend to be smart, but are riddled with logical fallacy. I don't think they pretend to be smart. I think they engage in but if you want to have a relationship with someone, you're probably known this. A relationship is two ways. Right? A relationship goes both ways. The question is, what do they want? This is where if you want to have a relationship, you may say like, okay, I don't want those things. But like, no relationship is going to be exactly what you want, right? That's not a good relationship. Maybe you're looking for someone, and maybe you're looking for someone who wants the same things you want, which is possible. I think there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement about what is it possible to engage with someone who doesn't engage with that? they'll give you what you want, right? There's like an
What did
exchange
the
and
witness do
relationship
to the
that you're
traveler?
not really getting much of.
No one's been
The
able to
interesting
follow
thing
it
is that
through
I
the
think that this
portal,
person does do
and it
this.
defies any attempt at
So,
study or scanning.
It's kind of
What do we do
interesting. We really
next?
talk about this
All
example,
things
like
possess
good
within
friends with a
themselves
coworker.
the
At first, we
seeds
got
of their
along
own destruction.
well.
So
they make
too does the
impulsive
witness.
decisions. I want to help
We
them.
will
So
follow
you
it,
see those
and
elements
we
there,
will
like
destroy
meeting people
it.
where they're at, supporting
We
them,
all
helping
will make
them,
our
all
own
those
fate.
kinds of things. But then I think this conditioning and all this other crap gets in the way. So the right stuff is there, right? But there's this weird kind of conditioning where he's been taught to be judgmental, or she's been taught to be judgmental, and then like they're maybe afraid of being rejected, and they may be like negative part. And then we kind of get to the last thing, which is we try to fix our internal problems. So this is kind of related to this point. But if I am impulsive and, you know, like not disciplined and vulnerable to alcoholism, then I think I can fix that by surrounding myself with and there's some truth to this. So you want to be careful, like for example, trying to get sober. You're going to take with you, right? Surrounding yourself with people who are
Operator, you have returned.
You are can absolutely have a good influence on you.
You have new quests in your codex.
Ultimately, if you're impulsive and like prone to alcohol, those are things that need to be internally fixed. But internally fixed in a supportive environment. And that's where the environment kind of comes in, right? That's why you have sober houses. Because it's easier to do the internal work when you're externally supported. So I'd absolutely recommend that this person, you know, finds a different company. Like, that's totally fine. Like, if you want to go hang out with PhD students at a local university, go for it. But be careful about, you know, this business over here. Because what you may find is that, oh, like, your mind may be looking for a way to dismiss that. That's what you have to be super careful about. Because you may be finding some of the stuff. Was there anyone that your mom did want you to be friends with? And how did you feel like hanging around them? What was it like being around people who were smarter than you, better than you, faster than you, better looking than you? Because there's a lot of stuff here that I think is conditioned, like, you know, displacing onto other people. The truth of the matter is that people who are, you know, feel like they're smarter than everyone else are incredibly lonely. And, like, I know that the internet loves to hate on people who think they're smarter than everyone else, but the truth is, like, they're just as deserving of our compassion as anyone else, right? We're just being judgmental. And there's just one thing that we find particularly annoying, right?
Stand by while I analyze the intelligence profiles of the Grenier.
And so, like,
Error,
really hard
not a number. Did the operator enjoy this criticism?
Time, I think that this person has done an awesome job, because as you know, we start here and everyone's like, screw this person. And then as we get down to the bottom, it's like, yeah, you know, I mean no disrespect by the title. I don't know how to better phrase my issues. They're just being authentic, right? I want to stay with friends, but I'm just, am I compromising my life? It's really hard for me to meet people who I feel are productive and good influences. But I don't know if I'm being a cocky asshole. Like, this is an incredibly, like, humble, authentic representation of this person's problem. This person is incredibly lonely. And so what do you do if you
Excellent armaments, operator.
like
Please return covered in blood.
who,
Safe
like,
and
are
sound.
giving you what you want, cannot challenge you, you don't have mutual respect in the relationship, right? And this, by the way, so like, we'll get get to that in a second. So if you're in this place, I'd start with sort of looking at your conditioning. Where were you taught to think like this? Because chances are there's a lot of judgment in your past. Either, in this case, you were like your mom literally told you, don't hang out with that person is stupid and is going to hold you back. Or you were on the receiving end of the judgment, right? Or your mom called you stupid. And so you learned to call other people stupid. We see this from this person's dad too, where the dad doesn't know how to form relationships. So this person literally was not taught how to form relationships. That's a skill that most of us just learn because our parents have relationships. And so when we're 3 years old and we don't understand what's going on, but my dad has an argument with his best friend and they start yelling at each other and they just ignore me because they're caught up in it, but I'm still watching it, right? It's still getting laid down in my brain in some way, shape, or form. So this person just was conditioned to think this way. Secondly, they're incredibly lonely, right? They're not looking for knowledge, they're looking for discussion. They want to be challenged. They want to challenge other people. What they're looking for is respect. But respect is mutual. And you can't have mutual respect unless you respect the other person. And what I'm hearing is that when there's judgment, there's not a whole lot of respect. So you're never going to have mutual respect. You're never going to have a relationship. You have to start by respecting the other person. Right? If you want a friend, if you're lonely, you need mutual respect to have friendships. But as long as you're not respecting the other person, then how's that ever going to happen? Another thing to be careful about is that sometimes we hate in others that which we cannot fix in ourselves. And we understandably want to avoid those kinds of people because they're bad influences. And so we try to surround ourselves with the right people, the opposite. But we can try to surround ourselves with whoever we want to, and those people can absolutely be good influences. But the problems I'm going to carry with me, they're going to come with you to some degree. So you've got to work on that. And the last thing to kind of think a little bit about is what does the other person want in a relationship? Why don't you ask them? Why does a relationship all have to all be about your needs? As you start to go through some of these things, as you start to realize your conditioning, as you start to recognize what some of your internal fears may be, maybe you're rejecting them before they get a chance to reject you, right? That could be going on. What actually happens when you meet someone who challenges you? How do you actually respond to that person? Because you may say a couple things. Maybe you just steer clear of them subconsciously. Or maybe you do all kinds of mental gymnastics to be judgmental toward them, to knock them down a peg when they're better at philosophical discussions than you are. Right? It's very possible. And at the end of the day, I don't think that you have to be lonely if you're in this situation. You really don't. It's going to take some work. It's going to be hard work. Because this training does not happen overnight, right? You don't get to this situation just randomly. You get to this situation when you've got two parents who've been really rough in terms of teaching you how to form relationships. When you make friends in this, when you're 7 and your mom is that person isn't smart enough for you, that sinks in deep. You've been programmed. So it's hard to undo that. And how do you start? It starts with mutual respect. It starts by thinking a little bit about other people's needs, exploring yourself. And then hopefully you can find what you're looking for. And by all means, explore outside of your current domain, because maybe you just need to go to different places, right? So there's some very practical stuff too. Right? Questions? Yeah, rip gifted kids with parents like that. Absolutely. Someone's asking, how do you deal with conditioning in general beyond recognizing it? So recognizing it is actually the lion's share of it. So if you trust the yogis from ancient India, they will say recognizing it is sufficient. So the problem with conditioning is that it's like an invisible monster, right? You need detection. You need a sentry ward or whatever the law equivalent is. You need to be able to detect your enemy to do anything. So the brain is pretty good. The mind is pretty good at making the right choice. The biggest problem is a problem of misdiagnosis. So once you figure out what the problem is, and you guys may have seen this on stream. We haven't done interviews a whole lot recently, but you'll kind of see the cathartic moment where someone realizes, and then the behavior follows suit. Right? There's even good evidence that shows that there's this thing called the insight trial, which was super fascinating, which looked at the correlation between insight and behavior. So if you want to see behavioral changes, insight has to come first. and then the behavioral changes seem to almost naturally follow. So you can definitely do things to support the behavioral changes. You can operationalize, you can find the right kind of community, you can do different kinds of exercises, but actually inside is the most important thing. Once you recognize that that is conditioning, then you can intervene with it in the moment. So if I go to, let's say, like a philosophy club, and I'm aware, if I'm on the lookout for these things, and someone shows up there, or even before I go, it's like the day for philosophy club is there, I'm about to get in my car, and then suddenly my mind is like, oh, why don't we just play games? Like, we can go next week. Wait, I thought you were lonely. I thought you wanted deep discussions. Like, why are you suddenly thinking about playing games? Like, where's that thought coming from? Right? And as you begin to realize, like, oh, like, then you ask yourself the question, how do I feel about going? Like, pick up your car keys, walk out to your car, and then, like, notice that your heart rate is, like, through the roof. You're tachycardic, you're sweating, and you're just, like, trying to get into a car. What's wrong here? And then you realize, like, something is up. Right? So awareness of conditioning is critical. And then once you become aware of it, then you can sort of realize, like, oh, this is me being afraid that, like, I'm going to be the stupid one in the room. And so am I willing to let that fear take control of me? It's okay if you are. You can say yes, like, that fear is too much right now. So be it. Or I'm going to set that fear aside and I'm going to try to go. Right? And then you start to condition yourself in other ways. So neurons that fire repeatedly get well grooved, right? So if we want to understand how conditioning works, it's kind of like a game trail in the wilderness. So it starts off with a field of grass that is all the same. And then a mouse runs through the field and tramples a little bit of grass. And then what happens is a rabbit approaches the field and sees, oh, there's one area where the grass is a little bit trampled. So the rabbit runs across the field. Rabbit's bigger than a mouse, so it tramples a little bit more grass. And then there's something like a small deer that walks across it because it sees an area that's trampled. And then like a bigger deer crosses it, and then or another rabbit, and then another mouse, and then suddenly you've got a game trail. That's the way your neurons work. So when you're told by your mom over and over and over again that these people are not good enough for you, you will start to internalize that. That is a well-grooved set of neurons. Neurons that fire together, wire together, right? So when you start to think in a particular way, all those neurons will get connected, and then all you have to do is trigger one neuron, and it'll trigger everything down the path. So how do you start to do that? It's the same way you make a new game trail. So in a given moment in your life, there's going to be an easy path which you've walked 1,000 times before. Or there's a hard path. You have to walk through the grass, and that's going to require more energy. It's going to be more difficult. You recognize that, right? That's like facing that fear in the moment that you're going to go to the philosophy club meeting. And so actually going to the meeting is creating a new game trail. We're not even at a game trail. We're walking through the tall grass, and it requires way more effort than going down the game trail. The interesting thing, though, is the second time you go to the philosophy club meeting, it's going to be easier. Because now there's a little bit of trampled grass. And then you do that a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, and then suddenly by the end of it, and I've seen this a ton in people who are alcoholics, for example, 2 years, 3 years into sobriety, they don't even want to drink. So their neurons have been literally rewired. They've been reconditioned. But it all starts with awareness, right? It all starts with awareness.
So Rudius Greyrat was special from the moment he was born into this new magical world, but he is not an overpowered character who can take down any of his opponents with his strong will and the power of friendship. So basically, today we will be having a look at Rudius Greyrat, his biology, and what makes him so different from other characters. So let's begin with Rudy's Laplace factor. So basically, Laplace factor is a unique trait and capability, or sometimes bodily appearance, and a rare percentage of people are born with it. It is a result of the demon god Laplace sending his soul from the past into the present by having it attached itself to multiple bodies in preparation for his reincarnation in the future. So Rudy was also born with this Laplace factor, and his special ability was his enhanced magic power and his extremely large mana pool. His total magical power has been stated by Orsted, Kishirika, Badigadi, and Perugius Dola to be greater than that of Laplace. His Laplace factor is also the reason behind his immense magic power and his adaptability to using magic from an early age. Sylphie was also born with Laplace factor, and it was her green hair, but later the color of her hair changed during the teleportation incident, which was due to extreme mana stress. Now, there is one more thing that makes Rudy extremely interesting, and it's the fact that Rudy is an anomaly in the world of Mushoku Tensei. Now let me explain. So the story starts with one god called the Creator God that created the six-faced universe, which consisted of 6 realms including the dragon and human realm, and each realm had its own gods. Then after some series of events, Hitogami took over the body of the original human god and tricked the dragon god. This led to an all-out war in which 4 realms were destroyed by the dragon god. Hitogami then betrayed the dragon god and led to the destruction of the dragon realm. In his dying breath, the dragon god wrote magical runes onto Orsted, who was just a baby at that time, so that Orsted would be hidden from Hitogami. Orsted was then given the mission to grow stronger and eventually defeat Hitogami, and every time Orsted fails, he is sent into the past, and then he starts again. So this is an infinite time loop that repeats in every 200 years until Orsted defeats Hitogami. So this is where things get tricky. So in the present time of Mushoku Tensei, Orsted himself said he had gone into more than 100 time loops, but it was only in this timeline when he saw Rudeus Greyrat. Basically, Rudeus was supposed to be stillborn and would have not existed at all. But because his soul came from a different world and got transferred into the son of Paul and Zenith, the child that was supposed to be born stillborn survived in this timeline. In other timelines, Eris was supposed to marry Luke Greyrat, and Sylphie and Roxy were supposed to be student and master respectively. But because of Rudy's reincarnation, the entire timeline changed drastically, which comes as a surprise to both Hitogami and Orsted, as they are unaware of this change in the timeline's natural passage. This also proves that in every timeline, where Orsted lived, there were no other cases like Rudy. This proves further that Rudy was the only one who was reincarnated in the entire history of Mushoku Tensei, and that his reincarnation alone caused a drastic change in the upcoming events. So I hope now you guys understand why Rudeus is so important and what makes him special. So now let's take a look at some of his unique powers and abilities. So first is Rudy's ability to do voiceless incantation. So Rudy is one of the few people capable of using a voiceless incantation, and even rarer as a person who can use voiceless incantation with melded magics. But he cannot use voiceless incantation for healing magic due to his lack of understanding in regards to how mana is manipulated to heal. A normal magician takes at least 5 seconds for a simple spell, while for higher level spells it's 30 to 60 seconds. But Rudeus can do it almost instantly no matter what's the difficulty of the spell. Next are the demon eyes that Rudy possess. So the Eye of Foresight is a demon eye that Kishirika gave to Rudy for giving her food. The eye allows Rudy to see a certain amount of the future possibilities, but it is difficult to adjust the focus point, because the farther into the future he looks, the more unreliable it becomes. The power of demon eyes is adjusted according to the amount of mana poured into them. The more mana Rudy inputs into the Foresight demon eye, the farther into the future he can see. Rudy is able to fine-tune the eye to see 10 seconds into the future reliably, but some experienced warriors can negate the demon eye's usefulness in battle by making split-second decisions and forcing the eye to see multiple futures. Some beings, such as Badigadi, are completely immune to the eye when wearing the fighting god armor. The eye can also act as a conduit for another being's power. For example, when Hitogami was able to show Rudy a vision of where to find Aisha and Lilia through his eye. Overuse or losing control of the eye may cause the user some sort of pain and nausea as a result of overloading the brain. This is shown when Rudy felt a moment of extreme nausea after Hitogami used the eye to show him a vision of the future, or when he originally received the eye, and it took him a while to learn to control it, since it would give him a double vision. Later in the story, Rudy also got another demon eye, which is called Clairvoyant Eye. Basically, it's a second demon eye that Kishirika gave to Rudy for giving her a donut when she is captured by Atofe. And this demon eye replaced Rudy's left eye. This demon eye allows Rudy to see far away. However, the focus point is difficult to control. Rather than acting as a scope, the clairvoyant eyes seem to change the perspective of one's vision, with the amount of mana determining the distance from the user. So next we have Rudy's overall magical abilities. So as we know, Rudeus was born with a Laplace factor. His affinity towards magic is more than any individual in his time. So while Rudy is a pacifist and doesn't like fighting in general, when he does, he is a formidable opponent. He is capable of casting magic simultaneously in both hands, as well as cast melded magic in an instant. With his scientific knowledge from his previous life and creativity, he always strives for developing more efficient magics for himself to use. Most of the spells he uses a lot, like Stone Cannon, have been stated by Badigadi to have an Emperor-class level of power. Initially, when he was a child, he mostly used water magic. However, as an adventurer, Rudeus primarily used earth magic such as Stone Cannon to hinder and slow down his enemies. As I told you guys earlier, his total magical power has been stated by Orsted, Kishirika, Badigadi, and Perugius Dola to be even greater than that of Laplace himself. Rudy was able to create a nuclear explosion, an extension of the fire and air-melded magic similar to that of the firework in his fight against Orsted. And according to Orsted, this magic could be considered God-class magic. So from this, I guess you guys can get the basic idea of how strong Rudeus can become. So if you guys want to know what Rudy's future looks like, then let me tell you the story of future Rudy who came back into the past to prevent the actions that led to what happened to himself. So after his marriage with Sylphie and Roxy, Rudy was visited by Hitogami, who told him to go downstairs and check something if there was something in the basement, which he did, and found nothing. What happened, though, was the infected rat that was roaming about in the basement was unleashed into the house and infected some leftover food, which Roxy then ate. As a result, Roxy became very sick, and regular detoxification wouldn't work, and only god detoxification magic could save her. Thus, future Rudy, Cliff, and Zenoba sneaked into the church to learn god detoxification. However, they were easily found, but they were able to make it out with the booklet on god detoxification. Cliff was struck by poison during the escape, and died shortly thereafter. When future Rudy returned, Roxy has already succumbed to the illness and died. This devastated future Rudy, and set him on a dark path. Around this time, Eris came back, but Rudy thoughtlessly drove her away. Sylphie tried to comfort him desperately, but Rudy refused it due to heavy drinking habit, and ended up sleeping with a whore. Sylphie found out about this, and stopped talking to him, and eventually left him to rejoin Ariel. When Rudy figures out what he has done, he goes to follow Sylphie, hoping to apologize and make up, but finds that Sylphie followed Ariel back to the kingdom. When he finally reached her, he found Sylphie and Ariel murdered during the attempted coup. After this incident, Rudy starts killing indiscriminately, and changed himself to be bent on the revenge of Sylphie, Roxy, and all others who were killed unfairly. Eris would come again and again only for him to drive her away again and again. Eventually, Zenith, Lilia, Zenoba, Aisha were also murdered by the Church of Milis, and future Rudy personally massacred all temple knights in Ranoa as revenge. Going down on this path, Rudy hunted anything Hitogami-related beings, including the likes of demon kings, and it is implied that he killed a lot of people, weak or strong, in his quest to learn more, only to learn nothing. So, before he knew it, he was an old man, and when he finally found the information on how to defeat Hitogami, he learned that he would not be able to do it in his lifetime. Finally, at the end of his life, he was able to learn how to time travel and traveled back to the past, before Roxy died, and informed his past self of all of this information. Unfortunately, the time travel trip left him missing a lot of organs and mana, thus he died to his injuries, but not before giving his past self advices and his diary that would help him in killing Hitaganoi. So the story that I just told you is not of the Rudeus that we are currently watching. It's the story of his future self. So that means our Rudeus is going on a totally new path, and his story will be entirely different from this. So I think that's all for this video, and if you guys enjoyed it, then make sure to get subscribed to the channel for more interesting videos like this.
Rent was way overdue. I was in crazy debt, and I'm sat here making tunes, thinking I just dashed away a career that everyone wants to do to run at this music shit that might not even work. There was times I just laugh at myself and go, yeah, but I'm gonna make it though.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/Padilla because sometimes existing is exhausting. And if you want to watch this episode completely ad-free with no censorship whatsoever, because let's face it, at Scarlet, there's gonna be a little bit of bad language, click the join button down below to become a member, just like all these very wonderful people. Anyway. Hello, Scar-Lord. Like, holy shit. It's happening.
Brother, man.
It's fucking happening.
I know.
I met you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
At a YouTube event.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be a YouTuber.
Yeah, I did. I did vlogs, like sketch comedy. I did like a bit of everything. Took my shirt off a lot.
We hung out for like one full day at Universal Studios. We fucking clicked. I felt like you were like my long lost brother. And then dropped off face of the earth. We didn't talk to each other. I didn't know where you even went. I mean, the crazy thing that happened was I was talking with Corpse and he showed me your music. He like was playing your music videos. I was super into it. And then a few weeks later, he's like, oh, you remember that Scar-Lord guy? Yeah, I was just talking to him and he mentioned that he knows you. And then I looked you up, I was like, what the f? That's Mazzy Maz? That's Mazzy Maz?
Everybody had that reaction. Like, I'm 28 now, and like I was 18 back then. Look at what I've done in these last 10 years.
Dude, it's fucking insane.
Type shit.
Because you're constantly pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Always.
Rap, trap metal. How do you describe Scar-Lord?
People say trap metal. Even I said trap metal back then, but like there's like so many elements in metal that aren't present. Like I do my own thing. I have my own thing going on.
So it's hard to define.
It's hard to define what I do. Even I can't define what I do. Like getting that, now they can Spotify.
How do they label you?
Oh man, they just put me in the metal thing, and I'm just like, this ain't metal, dog. Like, yeah, it is what it is though.
So you pretty much deleted the Mazzy Maz channel.
I just privated it. Reason being, I wanted to direct people's focus. Had the subscribers it had, and it had an audience and a fan base, and it was a platform that I could have used to do anything, but I had to put all that aside. I had to sacrifice that to really go for something else. And you know, I understand how that looks. It looks like I'm hiding. Like some people can make that narrative like
you're running away
like
from
I'm
your
running
past.
away from my past, but not at all. I'm just directing the focus. Like I did what? Man, people wish they could fucking do that. Stop it. Bro, what I did, I'm gonna talk my shit. What I fucking did, I blew up over here, relatively, okay, whatever you call blowing up, okay, I was a successful YouTuber, whatever, and I shut it down, like you said, radio silence, and I came round the back, like you said, 10 years later, it's like, I couldn't believe that this is you, still successful.
And it's like, holy f, here's all the things that you've been doing in between.
Whether I do YouTube, whether I do music, whether I decide to f this off and do something else again, the value's with me, and I understand that. So it's like, I can delete everything off the internet tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'll be on the next day with something else. I can take it from the beginning if you like.
Let's go.
In the beginning.
Yes, start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning.
Sperm cell.
Okay, sperm cell. Right, cool. That early.
Yeah.
I was a dancer in Wolverhampton, and that's how I was kind of earning a living. I was only 16 years old. But like at that age, I was that good at dancing that my dance crew would take me to like the events and stuff where we were getting paid. We applied for a grant, which let us get a camera because I wanted to film a trailer for the dance crew, and I filmed the trailer and I edited the trailer, but I just had this camera. So I was like, okay. So I started to make like dance videos. There's an old YouTube channel of mine before my main YouTube channel. It's called Fizzy Vimto 3Gs. They're all gonna say
Yeah, is it still up?
It's still up.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't have the password for that, so I can't even delete it. And then I kind of started to put my personality in there more. And then that's where I had the idea. It's like, well, I might as well take a stab at the YouTube thing. I remember getting that first check from AdSense.
Yeah.
It was £3. I showed my mom, I was like, £3, and she was like, what do you mean £3? It's £3, but I can turn that into maybe 1,500, like if I tried. And that's what I did, so said, so done. Moved out at like 17. And then, boom, had a career as a YouTuber. That there was the blessing and a curse to have a career that young, because you don't know who you are at 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you don't know who you are. 28, I'm like,
Still figuring it out?
Still trying to figure it out. It's an endless journey. But like when you do that in front of people and like you show discipline and talent and people assume you've got it figured out. Shit, they look and say, yo, he uploading 2-3 times a week. He's so bubbly and happy. He's so this, he's so that. He's got it together, and that's not the case at all. I just was so practiced in that I could just do it all the time, and that's what I did. I started to grow up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's when I started to experiment more with music, because I've been rapping since, Jesus Christ, since I was single digits.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear?
Yeah, you found your first recording ever?
It's too small, you can't hear me. I speak very quietly, disgusting. Spit them, chat them, follow those bars. Don't chat to me, just key in your jaws.
What?
I speak Japanese, also Russian.
Okay,
Don't
stop.
mix me.
The bar there was, I speak Japanese, also Russian. Don't mess with me, I'll give you concussion. First of all, I didn't speak Japanese, didn't speak Russian.
Where did those lyrics come from?
I don't know.
You're like, they rhyme.
I weighed like 1 kg. I wasn't giving anybody a concussion. You know what I mean? But listen, the promise was there.
The syllables were there.
I was always talking my shit. But again, I've always loved music. All my elders used to rap. You know what I mean? So it was like, I wanted to be like them.
When did you officially decide to like quit YouTube?
But I got to a point with YouTube where I felt like if I was to move on from it, it was then or never. Bear in mind, everyone was telling me no. Everyone was telling me I was successful. Everyone was telling me to wait it out. And I was just like, you guys, shut the fuck up, man. Shut up, man. I was at a point where emotionally, it was kind of fucking with me, which is weird because it's just, when I look back, I'm like, it's just a job, but like, my heart is so big, like, I need to express myself, you know what I mean? And I couldn't do that through YouTube anymore. Private everything, removed everything, and then that was the hardest bit, to be fair. You put so much hard work into something, and you put so much of yourself into something, to then just delete it and start from the beginning, oh my God. But the difference is, I wasn't bored. I wasn't bored at all. I was like, absolutely buzzing, I felt like I had a new lease on life. You know what I mean? I felt like I could just be, like, myself, like, away from everything. Because a lot of people ask me, especially YouTubers that want to transition into something else, they all come to me for some reason. they all ask me, they say, yo, is it hard? And da-da-da-da. And like, my only advice really is that, like, if you really want to do it, you're going to have to make the sacrifice and bite the bullet and remove yourself and your spirit from that and go over and do something else.
I think one of the wildest parts about reconnecting with you 10 years later is it felt like we had a connection then. It felt like we were on a similar wavelength, and then now talking with you, I realized that in that 10-year span, we were both kind of facing similar things at similar times. Like 2016, 2017, you left YouTube. That was when I left Smosh, and I had to completely reinvent myself and know what it feels like to start from scratch while everyone is watching. And that was a huge thing for me to have to step away from and to disconnect from the opinions that other people had of me, because I was like, oh shit, am I irrelevant? Everything that I created is everything that I put my heart and soul into for the previous 14, 15 years. Did I do all of that for nothing? And am I gonna be connected to that forever now? And it took kind of reaching what was kind of my rock bottom, I feel. To realize that stuff did not matter.
I mean, it's crazy, we mirror each other, bro. Like, 100%, like, and I know how tough it is. So I fully rate you, first of all. Like, you're tough. Like, you are, man. Like, you've got grit, you know what I'm saying? Like I was saying yesterday at dinner, you've got grit. You know what I mean? Like, that's, no, honestly.
It's a theme. Whenever someone compliments me, I go, and I can't even retain it.
No, it's good,
I can't retain that.
But, yeah, I also hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom, man. Is my accent really thick? Is it thick?
A bottom?
I hit rock bottom. No, I hit rock bottom too. Yeah, no, I did. I can make jest and light of it now because I'm up. But like back then, that shit was scary, man. That shit was scary. I felt like I ruined my life because I put my whole self into my career, and that's how I identified as me. And then when I got rid of that, I didn't really have necessarily a me.
Is that why you kind of chose a new name and stepped away from it so that you could, you were no longer identifying with that past?
Well, I didn't know who I was, so I was still looking for myself, kind of thing. And I was just going on my intuition. But it was the worst when I was doing it, and it wasn't working yet. I was just.
The system continues to fall into chaos. Check navigation for active invasions.
I was in crazy debt, and I'm sat here making tunes, thinking like, there was times where I would question myself. I would be like, this is hilarious. I just dashed away a career that everyone wants to do to run at this music shit that might not even work. And there was times I just laugh at myself and go, yeah, but I'm gonna make it though.
You said you kind of have a superpower where you can turn situations that seem like negative situations to most people, you can turn that into something positive that pushes you further.
100%. I'm in constant superposition, like an atom. I'm constantly vibrating in superposition. Listen, send something for me.
You are never still.
I'm never still.
Remember last?
Yeah, I'm never
last
still.
night you said if you become still for long enough, you'll just become bones.
I'll become bones.
Literally,
Exactly.
literally.
No, it's true. If you stay still long enough, you will become a sack of bones. Life will just go, I ain't moving. Get to work, decompose his ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what will happen. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you always have to move. So for me, I'm in constant superposition. If life will throw me something, I'll go, aha. And it's up to me, like, what is the solution to this problem? What is my approach? Like, the higher mind is putting yourself in the future, because that's where there is an unlimited reservoir of creativity in the future. There is no creativity here in the now, none. Because it's the past.
And when you look at it with that perspective, you're able to zoom out.
You
see
have
the
to zoom
full
out and then
perspective.
you look above, and then you're able to be a creator. You're able to be creative about your life. Because when you start being creative about your life, that's when you can do amazing things with it. Because you're no longer stuck in the present moment. How does me in the future think? How does me in the future feel? How does me in the future handle pressure? How does me in the future look? How does me in the future shit? You know what I'm saying? How does me in the future get down? You know what I'm saying? And but it's true. And then that's who you be.
And then you can use that and make decisions.
Nah.
Does my higher self, does my best self, does my future self, does this decision align with that vision I have of myself?
Yes. Habits and your thinking and your habitual thinking and like your automatic program to observe that and to kind of take responsibility for that and kind of like take responsibility for being more mindful and being more conscious and thinking higher. That's mindset.
So it's kind of separating yourself from your thoughts, your emotions, the things you see around you, the reality that you're
exactly
in.
That.
You are separate from that.
Yeah.
I find so much comfort in that idea, but it used to terrify me so much as a kid. And I would have these panic attacks at night, almost every single night when I was falling asleep. I thought that they were night terrors, I thought they were sleepwalking, but I'd get up and I'd feel like I was, like me, like I was not my physical me. I felt like I was
like a lucid dream, maybe?
Kind of,
Right.
but I felt like I was observing reality through these eyes, and I would almost feel like I was just observing reality, which would be me kind of freaking out, having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I wasn't having a panic attack. It was like I was observing the body and the mind who was. And it's funny because that used to terrify me, but now I look for that, I seek that, I meditate, and I want to be the me that's inside. But it sounds like you separated that, and that is what kind of, did that pull you out of the dark time, or were you already in that mindset before you got in?
It pulled me out of the dark time because there was no dark time. There is only times. The mind makes it a dark time. It's like me perceiving my actions as putting me in that place. You come from a place of, well, I can dwell in the problem or I can look for solutions. And I can look for good solutions. And if I really sit down, I can look for the best solution. And if I sit down even more, I can come up with a solution that even blows me away. If I don't waste my brain power on, if you don't do that, that's so much brain power.
Was it tempting to do that?
Oh my God. Every second, you want to lose your shit, but then you go, that's ridiculous. Because there's no going back once you open certain things in your head. I know I can get myself out of this, and I know that for a fact. So I would just contemplate on that every day, and I will work towards that every day, and I will try to better myself every day. I will do everything I can every second of the day. Even in rest, I will rest to rejuvenate myself, to get me closer to where I want to be. Even God, what he rested on Sunday, feet up. Say, yo, man, I built this whole shit. I'm gonna kick back. Changing your lifestyle and having a lifestyle that works you and a routine that fits you. The alarm goes off, I get up, I make my bed. It sounds so stupid, but I make the bed, and then brush my teeth and I do a bunch of stuff. I head down, my workout, I read, I cold plunge, then I start my day. And I've been doing that since July 2022. And some people get up and pray, some people get up and moisturize, some people get up and scroll. But you have to understand, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that will start your day. If you start the day like that, then that's how the day starts you. The cold plunge, there's a lot of benefits mentally. It's really good for your mental health, man. I started to think so much better. I have a lot more patience.
Is it almost the physical reminder that it's okay?
It's okay, and you never get used to it.
Yeah, it's always uncomfortable.
It's always uncomfortable. I like to shiver, like, and feel cold.
People hate that.
Yeah, they hate that feeling, but like it's an amazing thing to do for your body.
But also your mental state, it's a constant reminder that you can invite uncomfortable things and that you can withstand them.
Yeah.
And you know that there's a 5-minute timer and all you gotta do is do the thing.
Yeah. And so sometimes though, bro, I'll be honest, I'll sit there and look at that, I'll look at the ice in the bath. I'll just be looking at that shit. And I'll be looking at my phone for a song for 5 minutes and I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm getting in. You know, and you can find yourself procrastinating. You might sometimes, like, you might do a workout, but you might not go as hard. Some days you'll go in there, like, you're swollen, you did an extra 10 reps, and you did another set and all this shit, and then some days you go in there and you're like, and you just do the work. The important thing is the 1% thing, like you were saying. Show up and do it. When I first started doing dips,
for the shoulders.
For the shoulders, chest, I'd start the day with like an abacus, 10 stones on the left side of the rail, and each stone represented 10 reps. And I'd do 10 reps, move a stone to the other side. And at the end of the day, the goal was to have the stones on the left all move to the right.
So it's 100 reps.
100 reps. It made working out interesting. Working out's fucking boring. Takes years to find your routine. I'm still tweaking my routine. I had a time where like for like 3 months I had piano for an hour in my routine. Sack that off.
You're like, that's not helping me at all?
It is, it was fun, but it just wasn't fun enough for me. And I learned so much. That definitely all skills transferable. You get good at one thing, you can get good at everything. If a really high level YouTuber decides to quit YouTube, keep your eye on them. Keep your eye on them. Once a threat, always a threat. Let's run it back from the beginning. Gotta come up with the video idea, then once you got that, you gotta like write the script for it. Then once you got that, you gotta turn the camera on. And then once you got that, you gotta get the lights right. Then once you get that, you gotta make sure the camera in focus. Then you gotta make sure the mics is working, the levels is right. Then you gotta make sure you're presenting yourself correctly, that you're gonna gather an audience. Then you gotta make sure, you know, you get the edit down packed. And then you gotta have skills in edit, make sure it's engaging and you're doing the right thing. Then you gotta brand your channel. And then you gotta get the thumbnails going. Then you gotta get the title going. Then you gotta make sure you're consistent enough and dropping enough. If someone can jump through all those hoops and be successful, motherfucker, they're gonna be successful for life, bro. That is like, especially in this media-driven world we're in today, this content is king, like, you know what I mean? That fucking world we live in, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially in that world we live in now. Like, if you have the ability to hustle like that, you're gonna be fucking sound. That was one of the things that like I was grateful for when I stepped in to doing music. It's like, that was one of the reasons I got to where I did so fast, because we could turn things around. We go, write the tune, make the tune, drop the tune, make the music video, drop the music video.
It felt like you were doing the YouTube stuff. It felt like you were disciplined already with those things.
I was already seasoned for it already. That's why I could just keep it going. And it was just a matter of time. And again, people don't let themselves do that though. There's an individual who's fucking crazy good at, I don't know, fucking communicating, right? But he wants to then go into, you know, picking up an instrument. But he struggles to see the connection between the two. How can I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that. Wrong. You're good at both. You're good at all. But you have to understand what made you so good at this thing, and how can you extract that and put that into this over here. People think talent, oh, you're just talented.
I think it's just innate.
There's no such thing as talent. There is no talent is the biggest scam in the world. It is. Oh, he's talented. Listen, born talent. Nobody's born talented. Nobody's born talented. Even the most fucking protege, fucking youngest kid on the keys, you could go into their mind, you'd be like, oh, they're just seeing things and looking at things in a different way. You hear the term genius get thrown around. It's like, well, no, he just put the hours in.
It's about repetition.
Repetition.
It's about
reps.
patience. It's
Reps.
about discipline.
You just had me rapping when I was 8. And then compare that to one of my latest song that I'm about to drop. If you, the two, it's like you wouldn't even think it was the same person.
No.
But there's that level of persistence there, and that non-stop kind of like heading towards something and getting better at it, and just refining it and refining it and refining it. People are so afraid to fail, man, these days.
Yeah.
Failure plagues everybody, bro.
And we were talking yesterday about how, you know, if you're practicing something, if you have discipline to keep practicing doing that thing, even if you're getting 1% better each day, it adds up over time, and people get 15, 20% better, and they say, this isn't really showing much improvement, and then they stop and they regress.
Yep, exactly.
When they could have kept going and seen the gains over time.
Failure is, like, in a lot of cases, the catalyst for greatness. You know what I mean? Off the back of failure, people do their best things. And we live in like this world where everyone will say everything. For example, like you and Smosh, like, people will try to make you feel like you fail.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? People will try to make you feel like you fail.
They would literally
like,
say Smosh is better without you. You have nothing without that. You're irrelevant.
You're irrelevant.
And that would hit me, you know? I'd be like, oh,
100%,
fuck, I am
because
nothing.
it's the stuff you say to yourself, but when someone else confirms, you go, man.
The only way that it gets you, though, is if you do say those things to yourself. Yeah. Because if you never say those things to yourself and you never allow yourself to think those things, you just don't believe it, then anyone can say anything about that, and you would just, it would be like it was...
No, exactly. I mean, that's it. The things we say to ourselves during those times is way worse than what anybody could really say to us, you know what I mean? A lot of people get paralyzed by that, like secondhand fucking, oh shit. So it's like this phenomena, we love to see people get cancelled, and we love to see all this shit, but it keeps everybody in line, because it's like, rather him than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even observing it. It's kind of like the public display, so you don't do it.
Observing it raises the fear, and they fear failure so much worse because they watch other people fail or people succeed, and everyone perceive it as failure, and they sit back and they go, oh, fail.
Every hero's journey has that chapter, right?
Yeah, 100%. Initiation by fire or something, like you get burned and shamed by everybody, and then from that you rise from the ashes, kind of thing. You have nothing to lose. Despite all of that, it's rare though. People like me and you, it's rare what we did, because with us we didn't stop. With us we doubled down actually, and we kept going. That's quite rare. A lot of people would have turned back, you know. People like that want to push through and have the grit to just carry on and just do something else and be successful in that. And no one's as And, you know, that's why conversations like this are good, because hopefully someone can hear it and be like, you know what, yeah, I do want to make that rug cleaning business. You know what I mean? Or some shit, yeah.
Well, I feel like people are super inspired by your story because you did completely reinvent yourself. You behaved in the way that you saw your future self to behave, and did the things that you saw your future self to do. Even going as far as, you know, when you're in that apartment, you would use the apartment space and you would imagine that it was a stage.
I would practice, like you said, in my apartment, but I'd do it lengthways, not wideways, because wideways was still like, all right, but I didn't want to play on stages that big. I wanted to play on stages that big. I think it was that summer I played like Lollapalooza, I played like a bunch of crazy festivals and shit.
How did you find yourself on stage?
Oh,
you know?
man, I was ready for it. I was itching for it, man. I went up there and I just blew people away from jump, and people left like, yo, this guy, oh my God, this is f***ing sick. And then from there, doing bigger shows, I could handle it. You know what I mean? Because, and even doing my own shows, I could handle it. Because, like, listen, the performance is one of the biggest things I love about this. It's like the performance aspect, getting up on stage and fucking killing it.
Your stuff sounds so angry, it's so fucking high energy, intense, aggressive. Like every single thing you do is so fucking loud and over the top.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very loud like that, and people would be like, is this guy insane? Is he angry? But like you don't seem the least bit
expression. I think it does the sound a disservice to say it's just angry. Listen, we've all been through trauma. I'm not gonna sit here and fucking tell you about that part of my life, but like we've all been through things, you know what I'm saying? And like it's good to have that like expressive outlet, For me, that's doing this type of sound is what it is. I don't resonate with the idea that it's just like vexing, angry music for angry people. Anyone that says that hasn't really listened to me, or they listen to me and go, yeah, this is just him screaming and yelling. They haven't took the time to take that extra step and be like, okay, let me just open my mind and just like take this in. You know what I mean? And if they did that, they'd probably still hate it. But, you know what I'm saying? But there's an off chance that they might like it.
I mean, it's a weird thing where I feel like even when I listen to your music, it feels like it's like the balance that I need in my life. When I hear this aggressive, intense shit that you put out, it feels like it's answering a part of me that's there without me needing to express it in physical ways. You know what I mean? Like some testosterone guys like punching walls and shit.
That's exactly what it is, bro. I think having an outlet is more important now than ever.
The type of music you make is so loud that I feel like people would assume that you live in like a loud city.
But I live somewhere nice.
Somewhere quiet.
It is quiet and it's nice, and I can be free and I can be immersed in nature and I can go on walks and I can be around people who have had an entirely different perspective in life to my own. Environment is one of the most important things for me, I feel. If my environment is nice, the chances of me being nicer to myself increase, and then the chances that I have nice results increase. So it starts with environment, so I gotta get my environment right. Do you like candles?
I love candles.
Best thing ever. Candles will change your life, bro.
Yeah.
The scent of a room. I use candles to make music. So I have this candle that I'll light it only if I'm recording, and something about when the room starts to smell like the candle and I've been recording, there's just something, I want to say communion. Like there's like this kind of like, there's something ritualistic about it. Like there is a ritual.
It's a reminder that you're gonna make magic.
It's like I'm making magic because I'm lighting the candle, and because I'm lighting the candle, I'm making magic.
I read this book called The Expectation Effect, and it talks about how your expectation of something directly influences the outcome externally and internally in such an odd way. And one of the things that it talks about is rituals, and how when you have an expectation that when you do something that things are going to be better. I drink one of those yerba mates beforehand, and when I'm drinking it, I'm like,
it's gonna be a good one.
This is gonna be a good one.
It's the same.
And every time that I'm like, this is the good one.
This is a good one, yeah.
And every time it is?
It is, yeah. It's a banger every time.
Yeah.
There you go. See, we letting them in, man. We're giving them the secrets, bro.
It's strange, you know, because I feel like you can go the opposite way too.
Absolutely.
You get caught up in thinking
negative feedback.
Things are gonna be horrible.
And they listen, and they will. That's the craziest thing about the human mind. You are always right. If you think you can't do it, it's because you can't. You think you can do it, because you can. You think you're gonna be successful, because you are. You think you can't, because you won't. Simple as that. And it's your choice every second. It's up to you to feel like how you should be feeling to get where you want to go, or feel how you want to feel. The shit we've been talking about isn't just bound just for career stuff.
Yeah.
It also applies in your real life too.
By the way, this episode is sponsored by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spendings, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Like for me, recently I found out that I had been subscribed to Fabletics for the past 8 years, which put me out $5,000, and I'm not alone, okay? Most Americans are just as stupid as me, and I think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when it's actually closer to $200. Rocket Money shows all your subscriptions in one place, and then it cancels anything you don't want for you. It can even find subscriptions that you didn't know you were paying for. Yes, I did just find out that I was double paying for Spotify, but that's okay. My therapist knows all about it. So if you want to stop throwing your money away, if you want to cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and you want to manage your expenses the easy way, go to rocketmoney.com/Padilla. That's rocketmoney.com/Padilla. And yes, I am going to say it one more time, so listen closely, and only one more time. rocketmoney.com/Padilla. Now back to World of Scarlord. I feel like we should play a small snippet of your most popular track. Is your most popular track Heart Attack? Because it has like over 100 million plays on YouTube and over 100 million plays on Spotify.
If you want to.
Heart attack,
I'm surrounded the place, I'm around with a weapon, I'm tripping out of the drugs. I'm about to bring me a record, I'm looking just like a dentist. I work hard to regret it, I'm making this the minutes on my mind, my flow is so
It's so hard.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so hard. Show us what your new sound is, because do you think this is going to define you? Do you think this is the next chapter in what defines Star-Lord?
I'm just better. Okay. Hold on to your fucking hats. I'm about to blow your shit away.
That gets my heart rate so fucking high.
Let me play you some new shit.
Okay,
you better
okay.
like this as much because this smokes this. I didn't play this one yesterday.
Ooh, no, you didn't play this one.
All right, hold on to your hats.
This is one of your hardest songs.
Hold on to your seats, bitch.
Scarlet, bitch.
Holy dude.
Don't need no respect, man.
Oh my god. I felt whatever you fucking felt while you made that.
Yeah, bro.
I felt that. You were telling me that the style, your style, the visual aesthetics influenced the music and the music influenced that.
Yeah.
And
it's like they fed off each other kind of. When it comes to visuals, it's fashion first. Can we sell it? Can we make it look good? And look what's happened because of it. Like, I have my own clothing line now. I bought you some stuff, by the way, bro.
Do I get some Doom Life stuff?
Catch.
Oh shit! Wait, what did
Catch.
What did you bring me, bro?
Sorry,
What we got here?
It's called Doom Life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, this is just something. So I didn't want to come empty-handed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like an oversight. But like, I didn't want to come empty-handed. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. By the way, when you travel through the airport, it's like it's gonna give you so much hassle.
Why? Because you gotta
metal tags everywhere. Oh my god. I went through the airport wearing something similar to this actually. Listen. I said to boss man, I said, bro, take me to dinner first, man. He was feeling.
I like this one. It says profitable.
Yeah, so pleasant.
This is why people think you're an angry person.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's just a good thing to make the world feel. It needs to sometimes.
How do you deal with criticism? Because that comes with the scene.
Yeah, it comes with doing anything implemented by criticism isn't something that it's not in my jurisdiction. You know what I mean? To care about. Because if I was to care about that, I would make it all about myself. Because I would make a conversation.
Distract the infested while a lone Tenno operative hunts for supplies. Set off the alarms to start. The infested are releasing toxic spores into the area. The emergency life support I am delivering is your only chance for survival. Personal life support modules dropped by fallen enemies. Life support incoming. I've delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time.
Phil Swift did a whole lot of damage. Probably got ate by a whale like King. Oh, cheap ass up, bitch, I know it won't last. Oh, cheap ass up, bitch, I know it won't last. Quarter ticket just to fucking drown. They don't drift off the sea and I don't even know how. Shit, if I can get the bread and I was a big count. I don't even know the bigs, I just wanna buy
Life support has been replenished.
Like how the fuck did y'all go underwater and get packed up? The sub getting smacked up, y'all didn't call back up. Like how the fuck did die on the trip in the submarine? Shit blew up and they got fried like a like get out of the water, get the fight back. This shit had a controller, that bitch should've had a strike back. Big bar to go, man, y'all know that I'ma get you. They winning, that's a beat. Like who the fuck was driving? You got everybody killed, nigga. Like where the fuck is your skill? And I wish I could've been there to see everybody dead.
I fuck around, drown, trying to find a Titanic. No Phil Swift did a whole lot of damage. Probably got ate by a whale like King. Oh, cheap ass up, bitch, I know it won't last. Oh, cheap ass up, bitch, it's probably made of plastic. How you got my quarter ticket just to fucking drown? They don't drift off the sea and I don't even know how it is. I can get the bread and I want to get count. I don't know the billions, I just wanna buy an ounce. And I fuck so long that I'm
Another life support capsule. Ready for a capsule. Life support has been replenished. Another life support capsule is now available. The raid is off to a successful start. When you need it, extraction is ready. Life support on the way. Additional life support has arrived. ready for a capsule. Additional life support has arrived. Tenno operative just found. They could not do this without you.
The facilities.
I've delivered another life support capsule. Life support activated. Life support capsule is now available. Additional life support has arrived. The longer you fight, the more successful we will be.
Many things have been taken from us, it's true. But fortune favors the bold, and there ain't none so bold as people with nothing to lose.
I'll share in this bounty. Hold out as long as you can. Life support has been replenished. Life support activated. Another life support capsule is now available. just found. They could not aid us without you. I've delivered another life support capsule. fight, the more successful we will be.
To quote another, virtue, integrity, and courage are my priorities. I can be approached, but never pushed. Befriended, but never coerced. Killed, but never shamed.